This isn't science fiction, this is real, and it's terrifying. Every strange hybrid animal explained dives into nature's strangest experiments. Number 1. Wholphin. Dolphins are intelligent, social, and approachable to humans, but there is a creature that stands in the middle of that familiarity, quietly breaking many of the rules we once believed were certain. The Wholphin is not a naturally occurring species, and its rarity means that many people have never even heard of it. Only a few individuals have ever been recorded. It's all born in captivity. It is a hybrid between a false killer whale and a bottlenose dolphin, two species from different genera, once thought incapable of producing healthy offspring. They differ in size, behavior, and social structure, and that have been separated by millions of years of evolution. However, somehow their genes are compatible enough to produce a viable hybrid. The first Wholphin, Cichlid, was born in 1985 in Hawaii. She not only survived, but also produced offspring. This is particularly rare, because most hybrids, especially those between different genera, are sterile. The Wholphin's reproductive ability suggests that the genetic barrier between the two species is thinner than science previously assumed. The differences between the parent species remain clear. False killer whales can grow up to 6 meters long, while bottlenose dolphins reach only about 3 meters. Wholphins fall somewhere in between, displaying mixed traits such as tooth count, fin shape, and body coloration. But while they may exist, they have no place in the wild. There are no wild populations, no distinct habitats, and no defined role in the evolutionary process. Wholphins exist as an exception, a rare case in which biological boundaries are crossed. Evolution has shaped separate paths for each species, and those paths rarely intersect. Yet the appearance of the Wholphin raises a thought-provoking question. How many boundaries in nature are truly absolute, and how many are simply limits we do not yet fully understand? Number 2. Zorse. You've seen it before. A horse, but not quite a horse. Stripes appear on its legs, sometimes stretching across its body. Familiar? Yet something is wrong. A Zorse is the result of a cross between a horse and a zebra. At first glance, this may seem logical, because the two species look quite similar, with a comparable build and gait. But genetics tells a completely different story. Horses have 64 chromosomes, while zebras, depending on the species, have between 32 and 46. This difference is not just a number, but a clear biological boundary. When crossbred, Zorses are born with an uneven number of chromosomes, making meiosis, the process of producing reproductive cells, impossible. As a result, they are almost always sterile, an organism that survives, yet cannot continue its own lineage outwardly. A Zorse is a strange blend. The body of a horse, combined with the distinctive stripes of a zebra. But what is even more remarkable is its behavior. Horses have been domesticated by humans over thousands of years, learning to trust and respond to commands. Zebras, on the other hand, retain their wild instincts, remaining alert and difficult to control. Zorses stand between these two worlds. Neither fully domesticated nor fully wild, they can be shy, aggressive, and often refuse to be ridden, not because they are stubborn, but because their behavioral systems are not designed to submit to humans. Initially, humans created Zorses with a clear goal, an animal with the strength of a horse, but with the disease resistance of a zebra, especially in regions affected by tsetse flies in Africa. But the result was not what was expected. Instead of being a solution, the Zorse is a genetic dead end, difficult to manage, infertile, and unsuitable for its original purpose. Evolution has kept horses and zebras separate for millions of years, and not by chance. And the Zorse is proof of what happens when that boundary is crossed. Perhaps the question is not how many species we can breed, but whether nature had a reason for not doing it in the first place. Number 3, Liger. It looks familiar, a large cat, with tiger stripes and a hint of a lion's mane. But something isn't right. Ligers do not exist in the wild. You will not find them in forests or on savannas. They only appear when humans place two different species side by side. When a male lion mates with a female tiger, the result is a creature that breaks all natural size limits. Ligers can grow to over 3.3 meters in length and weigh more than 400 kilograms, making them the largest living cat in the world. That sounds impressive, but the truth is more complex. In nature, body growth is always tightly controlled. Genes are switched on and off at precise moments, ensuring that size does not exceed safe limits. In ligers, and that mechanism is disrupted. Lions and tigers diverged around 2 million years ago. Over that time, they developed separate genetic systems, never designed to combine. When these two systems are forced to merge, growth regulation no longer functions properly. The body continues to grow without a clear stopping point. Therefore, the liger's enormous size is not an evolutionary advantage, but rather a sign of genetic imbalance. The problem does not stop there. Male ligers are almost always infertile due to incompatible sex chromosomes. Some female ligers can reproduce. This is rare and often leads to significant genetic instability. Many individuals also suffer from serious health problems, such as heart defects, neurological disorders, and shorter than normal lifespans. From the outside, the liger looks like a marvel, but internally, it is proof of what happens when natural boundaries are broken. Nature created a gap of millions of years between lions and tigers for a reason, and ligers exist only because humans have interfered with that boundary. Perhaps the real question is not what we can create, but rather, whether we should create it at all. Number 4. Blood parrot cichlid. You are looking at a fish, but something does not quite fit. Its mouth opens, but never fully closes. Its face appears to be smiling, yet it expresses no emotion. Vibrant colors, a rounded shape, familiar in an aquarium, yet alien to nature. The blood parrot cichlid does not come from rivers or lakes. It has no natural homeland. It was created in the 1980s in Taiwan. Humans crossbred American cichlids to produce a more visually striking fish, a bright orange-red color, a perfectly rounded, balloon-like body, a face resembling a parrot's beak. But the difference is not only in its appearance, it is in its internal structure. A small mouth that cannot fully close, making eating more difficult than normal. A slightly curved spine. A weakened swim bladder, affecting how it moves through the water. Small details, yet enough to change the way a creature lives. Even so, it survives. It adapts in its own way, in an artificial environment, in tanks with controlled temperature, pH levels, and water flow. It learns to recognize the person who feeds it. It reacts to movement outside the glass. It moves more slowly, but it does not stop. What makes the blood parrot cichlid remarkable is not its color, it is the story behind it. A clear example of how humans not only observe nature, but also intervene, modify, and recreate it according to their own desires. But every modification comes at a cost, not always visible, not always mentioned, and that is what creates a feeling, somewhere between beauty and abnormality. Perhaps the question is not whether this fish is beautiful or not. Rather, when we can create a creature as we wish, where does the boundary between nature and artificiality truly lie? If this story makes you think, perhaps it is time to take a closer look at what is quietly swimming in your own glass tank. Number 5. Grolar bear. The Grolar bear is proof of something fascinating in nature. The boundaries between species are not always absolute. It is a hybrid of a polar bear and a grizzly bear, both of which diverged from a common ancestor about 600,000 years ago. Over time, they evolved in completely different directions. Polar bears adapted to life on sea ice, hunted seals, and endured extreme cold. Grizzly bears, on the other hand, lived primarily on land, were omnivorous, and adapted to a wide range of environments. For hundreds of thousands of years, they almost never encountered one another, but nature is not a static system. as the climate changed and sea ice gradually shrank, polar bears were forced to move inland. And there, for the first time in a very long time, the two species met again. The result was not conflict, but union. The first Grolar bears recorded in the wild are relatively recent. What makes them especially remarkable is their reproductive ability. Unlike many other hybrids, some Grolars are capable of producing offspring. This suggests that despite long periods of separation, the genetic link between the two species has not completely disappeared. In appearance, Grolars have a distinctly intermediate look. Their fur is lighter than that of grizzly bears, but not entirely white. Their claws are long, and both their head and body display characteristics of each parent species. It is this blending that makes them unique, a creature that does not belong entirely to either environment, yet can survive in both. Nature, in its own way, not only creates diversity, but also demonstrates extraordinary adaptability. When conditions change, life does not stop. It finds a new path. And perhaps what makes Grolars truly special is not simply their existence, but the way they remind us that nature is often more flexible than we imagine, always ready to rewrite its own rules. Number 6 was Coywolf. You have heard a sound in the night, long, echoing, like the howl of a gray wolf, but then it cuts off. Strange, almost like the call of a coyote. Your brain tries to identify it, but it doesn't match. Not quite anything you know. And in that very moment, you have encountered a creature most people have never truly understood. The Coywolf is not a legend, nor is it a laboratory creation. It is the result of a changing world, forcing nature to change with it. As humans expanded urban areas, forests became fragmented. Wolf populations gradually disappeared from many regions. Ecological gaps emerged. And then, coyotes moved in. But this time, they were not alone. The hybridization happened quietly, without clear boundaries. In just a few generations, a new creature emerged. The Coywolf carries the size and strength of a wolf, yet retains the cunning, agility, and adaptability of a coyote. Its jaws are powerful enough to take down larger prey. Its legs are swift enough to move silently through densely populated areas. And most importantly, it has a mind capable of learning from the human world. In regions like Ontario or New England, their presence is no longer a hypothesis. Infrared cameras capture them gliding through empty streets. No panic, no aggression, just observing, adapting, surviving. What captures scientists' attention is not merely the Coywolf's existence, but its speed of development, a form of rapid evolution unfolding before our eyes. Not over millions of years, just enough environmental pressure, and nature finds a way. And perhaps the most thought-provoking part is not that they are moving closer to humans, it is that they have learned to live alongside us. Number 7, Leopon. It looks like a leopard. The familiar spotted coat, the silent gait, the precise predatory gaze. But then you notice, something does not quite fit. The body is larger, the head is heavier, and sometimes, a hint of a mane appears where it should not. The Leopon is a creature that stands between two worlds, leopard and lion. These two big cats, belonging to the genus Panthera, are closely related, yet in the wild they almost never interbreed. Their habitats differ. Their behaviors differ. Evolution has kept them separate for millions of years. But when humans place them side by side in captivity, that boundary begins to blur. The result is a body that carries traits of both parents. The leopard's distinctive spotted coat, but stretched over a larger, heavier frame. Some males develop a slight mane, not enough to resemble a true lion, but enough to create a subtle illusion, as if nature has been quietly modified. Genetically, this hybridization is possible because the two species remain relatively close on the evolutionary tree. However, that does not mean the outcome is without complications. Leopons are extremely rare and exist almost exclusively in controlled environments. Their behavior is also an unpredictable blend, neither entirely solitary like a leopard, nor fully social like a lion. They have no defined role in the wild, no natural populations, no established place within an ecosystem. Leopons exist as a possibility, a reminder that biological boundaries can sometimes be crossed, but are rarely sustainable. And perhaps the most thought-provoking aspect is not that we are capable of creating such creatures, but rather, why nature did not create them on its own. If you would like to explore more stories like this, stay tuned. Number 8. Narluga. The Narluga is one of those rare creatures whose existence was not discovered in the wild, but rather rediscovered in a museum. A strange skull, lying unnoticed for decades, contained details that did not match any known species. This anomaly prompted scientists to take a closer look and realize they were facing something entirely new. The skull belonged to a whale hunted off Greenland in the 1980s. At first, it was simply considered an unusual specimen. Its teeth did not resemble those of a narwhal, with its long, twisted tusk, nor those of a beluga whale, with its regular, conical teeth. Instead, they displayed an intermediate structure, as if two distinct biological designs had been seamlessly combined. It was not until 2019, when DNA analysis was conducted, that the mystery was resolved. The specimen was identified as a hybrid between a female narwhal and a male beluga whale, two closely related Arctic whale species that have evolved in very different directions. One is a deep-diving predator, the other typically forages in shallower waters. They have distinct social behaviors, unique communication patterns, and are almost never documented as interbreeding in the wild. What makes the Narluga remarkable is not only its existence, but the way it exists so quietly. There are no known populations, no direct observations in the wild, only a single piece of physical evidence, yet enough to reshape how we think about the boundaries between species. It demonstrates that even when evolution has separated species for hundreds of thousands of years, deep genetic connections can still remain. And when the right conditions arise, however rare, nature can produce unexpected combinations. The Narluga is not a common species, nor is it part of an evolutionary trend. It is an exception. But it is precisely these exceptions that make the natural world so fascinating, because they remind us that, although we understand a great deal, we still do not understand everything. Number 9. Cama. Cama is one of those rare creatures that you can look at and immediately recognize as something not shaped by nature alone. It has the form of a camel, but without a hump, smaller, more compact, and at first glance, there is something distinctly unusual about it. A creature both familiar and unfamiliar, standing between two evolutionary worlds separated for tens of millions of years. The Cama was created through artificial insemination between a dromedary camel and a llama. These two species belong to the same family, but diverged about 30 million years ago, evolving on two completely different continents. The dromedary camel adapted to the arid deserts of the Middle East and Asia, with a large body and a hump for energy storage. Meanwhile, the llamas of South America are smaller, live in high mountain regions, and have soft, thick wool. In the wild, they would never meet. And even if they did, the significant size difference would make reproduction nearly impossible. Therefore, the creation of the Cama was an ambitious experiment, combining the strength of a camel with the wool quality of a llama. The result was an intermediate creature, no hump, short ears, a long tail, and a moderate body size. At first glance, it seemed like a redesigned version of nature. But what makes the Cama truly interesting is not only its appearance, it is the idea that two evolutionary lines, separated for millions of years, could still reconnect, albeit with human intervention. The Cama demonstrates that genetic boundaries are not always absolute walls. Sometimes, they are doors that have simply remained closed for too long. However, that door did not open completely. The Cama is sterile, and its temperament can be unpredictable, limiting its practical applications. The project remains small in scale, more of an experiment than a long-term initiative. Nevertheless, the existence of the Cama carries particular significance. It is not a leap in evolution, but rather a rare glimpse into how biological systems can intertwine. And perhaps what makes it compelling is not how useful it is, but how it prompts us to wonder how much of nature's potential remains unexplored. And that's only a small glimpse into the world of strange hybrid animals where nature's rules start to break. If this fascinated or unsettled you, hit subscribe now, because the next video goes even further